Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business on News Desk. Now, Omni and Sahara banks are now looking to fast-track the integration of their systems and personnel. This is after the two banks secured Bank of Ghana's approval to merge the operations. The merger was to help them meet the 400 million cedi capital requirement. Now, Joy Business understands the merged entity had a stated capital of 280 million cedis, whilst an additional 120 million cedi capital injection came from the Ghana Amalgamated Trust. Dr. Kojo Abuaji Deborah is Deputy Managing Director of Sahara Bank.
We have what we call steering committee. We will meet next week and then we'll discuss the integration process and then how we should inform the customer what has come from the central bank. And then that will also discuss the HR issues. And then that will come out formally to the market.
For customers, what should they expect from you going forward?
Well, it's a big market now. We have a big balance sheet, and therefore we'll be able to fulfill their needs better. Because individually, we were doing something less than $10 million transaction. Now, this is a big balance sheet. So I can do a big transaction, and therefore my customers will be happy. Because investors will be happy even to invest in us because we are solvent and we are well managed.
We'll still stay in the banking space. Executive Chairman, Senior Partner of ABN David Africa, David Ofosu-Dorte, is predicting drop in interest rates in the financial sector as the banking sector stabilizes following the recent reforms and restructuring of the sector by the regulator and banks in the country. Now, speaking on PM Express Business Edition with Philip Namfuri, ahead of a business event, Crystal Ball Africa 2019, he added that the banking sector in the coming year will be in a much better position.
There are going to be some very headwinds, as we go along the line, especially for banks who have not met their minimum capitalization and those who stand the risk of being downgraded if Bank of Ghana goes by that approach. I'm not so sure whether any of them will lose their licenses altogether. So that may be the bad news. But for businesses, and I like to focus on businesses, what does this bad news mean? If, for example, you are saving or you are rather running your business with a bank which hasn't met its capitalization, or which hasn't got the wherewithal to be able to finance your transformation as Africa transforms, then it becomes a threat. But I think in the banking sector for businesses, to me, there is likely to be more good news in 2019 because I expect interest rates to drop. Okay. If you look at the global economy, the US economy is likely to slow down significantly. Okay. We pray it doesn't get into a recession. The Chinese economy will slow down. But anytime those big economies slow down, there's rather a positive effect in Africa. Okay. Especially because we are not so much integrated into the global economy properly. And if you look at the last period, 2007, 2008, all the way to 2011, when they had the so-called financial crisis, it was much easier to borrow here because monies which are not receiving the return on capital, they look for other sources of investments, and that Africa is one of the places. So this combination of events rather will benefit Africa in my view. Okay. And in interest rates are rather likely to drop. That's what I see.
Well, speak about interest rates. The month of January, as expected, could be a long and winding one, unfavorable to many of us who may have exhausted our funds during the festive season. The advent of some lending applications has made acquiring loans a little bit easier and convenient. Joy Business has been speaking to the CEO of Bond Savings and Loans, George Ofosu-Hene, who shares some tips for the acquisition of loans in Ghana.
For everybody who intends to ask for a loan, start with the end in mind. I think that sometimes people do not consider that the objective of going for the loan is what becomes the focus. But I always say that start from the end. That is, how am I going to service this loan or how am I going to repay the loan? Because as financial institutions, that is our key objective. Do you have the capability to actually provide the supporting documents or the evidence to show that you have the ability to repay the loan? So start with the end in mind. And then there's also some technical side which I'll share with you. We call it the 3 C's. One is character, one is capacity, and one is cash flow. Capacity relates to what I said earlier on. Show that you have the capacity to pay back. And then also show that you are somebody that we can trust. And we have a certain level of comfort that whatever you say is truthful. Because at the end of the day, you can, give us information that you know very well that that is not true. But then if you have good character and you are able to explain clearly what it is, it makes it easier for us to, give you the loan. Then the last thing is cash flow. Everything is based on cash. So if you are going to ask for a loan, show that you have the capability to generate the cash flow that makes it possible for us to consider the loan.
Finally, some news from the oil and gas sector. And Chairman of the Licensing Bidding Round Committee, Lawrence Apausi, has expressed optimism oil exploration works in the Western Offshore Basin would begin before the end of 2019. The Minister of Energy is expected to announce the winners of the bid for oil blocks by the end of August this year after a final validation by the committee. Here is Mr. Apausi explaining further.
Winners that you presuppose that will be after August 31st, yeah? The winners will be declared and the process will go through ratification of Parliament. As soon as we do the ratification, the companies are to start work with the exploration. Okay, so most likely we will see some of them go into action before the close of 2019. The second question is ExxonMobil has a block here. So how do we manage them also having competitive bidding here? No, there are no rules precluding those who are already working in the country to go into the bidding round. So you have, if we name the company, you, like Minister said, you had people like Talo, you had Cosmos, Aker and Co. all coming. They all have blocks and they're still coming. So there is no restriction on who can go into the competitive bidding or direct negotiations.
All right, that's all in business. The news continues after this break.